You are now in the deep end of horror.
And I will see the life run out of you.
You may or may not know, we are filming the Sleepaway Camp documentary. So it is going to be the definitive documentary, and we do have about 95% of the cast confirmed for interviews. From 1, 2, 3, mention of 4, and return to Sleepaway Camp. So we're doing that for you. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the original Angela, Felissa Rose.
Oh my God, I'm just gonna cry, okay? I can't even, first of all, thank you all so much for being here. This is just, I'm tremendously grateful for having been in this movie. As I've said before, it's given me a life. It was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. And just like looking in this audience fills me with so much emotion because I love Angela and I love the Sleepaway Camp movies. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. Now, without further ado, we have the amazing cast for the first time. Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 are in the house. Let's give it up to introduce them one at a time. Here we go. From Sleepaway Camp 2. Oh my God, this gives me chills. We have Kendall Bean. Questions from the audience. Our Phil Donahue. All right, everybody, let's sit down and get to it. Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. I can't even believe you're in the house. This is so weird. Let me come sit back here. So my first question really, and we'll pass the mics around, how did you get involved with the film?
I was working in an art store and I'd gotten in a course by a guy named Dick Smith, and I had gotten to listen to Georgia Film Book, and Michael Simpson and some other folks were looking for people to do the effects makeup, and they just called me. It's not an exciting story.
That is exciting. How does that make you feel once you do?
Richer. I am. Nice fun leather jacket. It was nice. But yeah, I was excited about it. Got my career going, and still doing it. So it's a good thing.
And what area did you shoot in? It was in Georgia.
We were in Bremen at
Alabama.
right on the water. Yeah, Camp Waco.
And you shot both movies back to back, right?
6 weeks or 8 weeks?
Yeah, we did it in it was 6 weeks total. It was 3 weeks
It's
for the show.
impressive. That's really
It was $465,000 for the show. So, all those weird facts.
How did you get involved in the film?
I was from New York originally, had moved here, was here, I'd say 4 to 6 months, and got a call to go audition and auditioned and met with Michael, and the rest is history.
Ditto, but in Atlanta. So, I think most of us probably went through a similar experience, and we auditioned for the casting director and then for Michael, and got our specific roles, I think.
And was it a big audition? Like, did it seem like, oh, there's this big horror movie coming through Georgia, and they're looking for many different types and actors and character actors? Did you know anything about the movie itself?
No. It was really, really, really cool. Even though I was pretty nervous, but it worked out. And I've always been a horror fan, so that made me really, really excited to be part of the show.
I had a very strange, a different situation. Amy had actually been cast as Brooke, and I had done some acting, and the casting director, Shay Griffith, was my agent when I'd done acting, and I'd already changed over to the other side of the camera because I just couldn't stand still that long and wait that long. I had to move. So I'd gone to the other side of the camera and started working on crew, and I was working on Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. I was doing the pre-production and had started doing the production, and they knew I'd acted, and I was 21, so I could do the stuff because you couldn't.
I couldn't.
She was
Yeah.
underage.
Yeah.
Damn.
In Georgia, they had specific child labor laws where I was not allowed on set even when she did her death scene, or if there was sex involved or violence.
And there was a lot of that.
Yes, there is a lot of that.
2 and 3 has a plethora of nudity and sex, and it's amazing.
So I had to miss out on all of it, which I was not. I was like, damn.
Well, you were in there a little bit. But yeah, so that was my experience.
My experience was pretty good. Little known fact, I actually auditioned for the role of Angela. I have a range, but that wasn't quite what they were looking for. No, I really wanted the role of Tony. Really wanted it so much that I did a lot of things that actors shouldn't do after you audition. Call them and say, "Have they made a decision yet? Have they made a decision yet?" So I was so excited to play Tony. It was a wonderful experience. Most of the crew members were musicians. So after every day of filming, we'd have a jam session. Every night. It was one of those things where you were very sad to see go away, you know? But thank you guys for making it a cult favorite.
Yes.
I did not expect this. It's wonderful. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I think we all do. Jimmy?
Sorry, I'm a little shy. I was working as a model at the time, and I had zero acting experience, as you could probably tell. But that was like my first acting audition, and my boyfriend Tony from 2, we went together to the audition, and we both booked it, yeah, woohoo! But I just remember being very self-conscious and nervous and going like, oh my gosh, that was so different. And I was nervous about, some of the racy lines, so I just got through it and said it, but, I was nervous about that too.
May I real quick?
But
Kim really needs to come out of her shell, don't you think? She has the same energy today that she had back then.
Aw, thanks. No, so that was that. But oh my gosh. So Jason, my husband, and I, we were watching you for the first time yesterday. We saw, and you're acting
The original movie?
Yes, the first one. And oh my gosh, you're so talented.
Aw, you're very sweet.
Wonderful
Thank you.
performance from such a young girl. It was just, it was amazing. So
Thank you, I appreciate that.
we're fans now.
Thank you.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. I was a local, actor, born and raised in Atlanta. You can probably hear it a little bit, in my accent. And so Shay Griffin was also my agent, and Shay had a very, unique way of dealing with me, because I'm pretty so Shay said, hey, yeah, come on in, got an audition for you. I think this will be good for you. Just, just no big deal. Just, come in and read, And I read, and she said, yeah, it's good. It's fine. I'll give you a call, And she called me, and I got it. She was very just, hush about it, And when I showed up and saw Michael J. Pollard, who I immediately recognized, and I'm running into people who are not from Atlanta. I was used to just doing stuff with actors from Atlanta. I started thinking, okay, this might be bigger than I thought, and I would never have guessed that it would, turn into what it has, and I just couldn't be happier to be a part of it.
Hi guys. I think I'm the only one from Los Angeles sitting up here, right? You guys are all from around here more? Or most of you guys were cast from Atlanta, right?
In New York, I think.
Oh yeah, okay, yes. Oh, hi everybody. Okay, so my audition, I thought it was fun because I got to be mean.
Which she's not.
It was fun. I got to play a mean girl. I don't know what else. No, it was fun to see everybody, and I haven't seen these guys for like over 30 years, so holy cow. Anyway, well, I don't know what else to say.
Well, thank you for being here, all of you. So I have a huge question. Having played the original Angela, what was it like working with the other Angela? We have not heard anything from Pamela Springsteen, so perhaps all of you can shed some light on working with her, and has anyone kept in touch with her? She's in the back. No, I'm kidding. That would be amazing. But seriously, I would love to hear what your thoughts are on having worked with her, as well as any updates on Pamela Springsteen.
She was, I mean,
One. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, what I could see is that she was just very sweet and quiet. Yeah.
Very reserved, very talented. Did not seem to like any mention of her brother. As the actor that played Greg found out during rehearsal.
Tell us what happened, what'd you say?
Well, we're sitting around the campfire scene. We're sitting around and waiting. Michael was setting up, and he just, it was the three of us, myself, Pamela, and Greg. He said, "Are you really Bruce Springsteen's sister?" And I went, yeah, we went back to filming.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that was so exciting.
I remember her being very, very sweet. I was 17, so I idolized her, but she was also very funny and very sweet. She had hit me several times with a branch to make the blood bag burst. And then I remember, I tried not to laugh, because as she's cutting out my tongue, she made this. Trying to hold it together. So she's very, very
Well, yeah, likewise. I mean, incredibly sweet, very unassuming. I had heard, things about, LA or New York actors and, being, I don't know, just egotistical and whatnot. And she was so gentle and nice that you had to remind yourself this is the star of the movie, and then incredibly talented when she, when the cameras came on, bam, she's a character. Really, really, really amazing person.
Yeah. Down to earth. I thought she was very sweet and down to earth, and just nice, a very nice person. I really enjoyed the death scene we had when she killed me on the flagpole, because she was so petite. She's so little and I'm so tall. It's so funny, her pulling me up. Like, how in the world did she do that? But she did a great job of acting it out, and the string was stationary, so she had to drag her flesh down and to act like she's pulling me up, which it was fun. So she was a hard worker, and she was down to earth, and I would love to work with her again. Pamela.
Do you know if she's still acting? I heard she's a photographer.
Yeah, I hear she's a photographer. Yeah, that's it. So. we'll have to do an independent like little film or something about finding her, and like all of us.
Well, I mean,
I think it'd be great. We all just like.
there's a lot of rumors that she's not really interested in speaking about having played the role. Can anyone speak to that? Like, is that
I've got
a
nothing.
sort?
It would be really funny if she came back and started killing all of us.
Yeah.
All find out.
I think I have a new script I'm ready to write.
I can play my death scene now.
But I'd love to open it up to the audience, Steve, if you would. You can take my mic because they're dying to speak with you, and I'm sure they have tons of questions.
Yeah. I think the title of the movie is going to be Finding Pamela, by the way. Finding Pamela. And we'll all just like pursue her. The cast will just be like,
Yeah.
hi.
I think you should all kill her.
It's the reverse. We're going to kill her.
Exactly. The one thing I learned was,
Yeah, there we go.
right now Georgia and Atlanta is a huge hub for production. But you guys were way ahead of the curve on that. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. And shooting it back to back. I do have a question. When you said you shot it back to back, then did the cast up there from 2 and the cast from 3, did you guys meet each other at all during any of that?
There was just I don't know if you guys, there was just a little bit of crossover
Uh-huh.
because they were bringing some people in. Tracy Griffith was also in 3, and I think she had come in a little bit earlier because she was going to have to go out faster. So, and then I left shortly after you guys started because I went to New York. So.
Yeah. Because back then there was not a lot of films that would, or a film franchise that would shoot back to back. Nowadays that's very common, especially with like the Universal, the comic book movies and stuff
I have
like
to
that.
tell you too, it was an amazing crew, an amazing cast.
Yes.
I mean, we were so efficient, and everything was planned just back to back to back. It was almost flawless. So the actual production was even, about as good as the movies themselves, as everybody working together and everybody got along and everything was fine. Everybody knew what they were doing. It was amazing. It really, I worked on a lot of films afterwards for about 17 years, and these 2 movies were, it was an art. It's definitely art.
They're all
That's-
amazing. Don't we I love you.
What is your name? What is your name?
My name is Erin.
Aaron, you want to stand up? Nah, sit down. Okay. Oh, stand. Okay, so, I didn't say Simon Says. Yeah.
I do. Thank you so much for being here. I'm a huge horror fan. Just saw the movies for the first time very recently and had the opportunity to see them without knowing the twist ending of the first one. And and my question is, I'm wondering about the feedback you've gotten from the transgender community about these films, both positive and negative.
Well, I can speak to that. It's been incredibly positive. I feel very connected to the LGBTQ community. And I actually am on Shudder's new doc that comes out soon, untitled, their queer doc. So I feel, blessed to be a part of that. And I've heard nothing but good response. Angela is trans, and I think we have normalized it rather than marginalized it, because the real reason she's killing is that she's bullied severely, and that's where it comes from. And I'm just gonna pin it on Aunt Martha. That bitch is the real monster.
Thank you.
Great question. Okay. Can you hold it with the chainsaw?
Hey guys, Shop Smart, Shop S Smart. Sorry. We're all obviously horror movie fans here, and I was just wondering if, for those of you who are actually fans of the genre yourself, if you had any favorite movies, and in particular, any scenes that were particularly gruesome or horrifying that have been memorable for you.
Any favorite movies?
Yeah, favorite movies and or gruesome, horrifying scenes
That
in
movie.
movies.
Yeah. Ah, yes. Army of Darkness. How much time?
since we just saw this last night, the freaking curling iron. Oh my god! Oh my gosh! I was like, is that what I'm looking at? Oh my god. That was happening.
It goes into her vagina.
See? Oh my god. That was horrifying.
That must have been hot.
Yeah, so horror movies scare me. I have nightmares. My husband is not allowed to watch them like at night because then I won't be able to sleep. So we have to watch them during the day. But yeah, so.
You know, I am a fan of the horror genre. Supernatural thrillers are probably the ones that intrigue me the most. And starting with The Exorcist, which I still think is untouched. That genre. But slasher movies, right, are really intriguing as well. And this was my first exposure at this level. I mean, I'd seen Friday the 13th, I'd seen Halloween, but I was really interested in just the creativity, right, with the scenes and the murders that took place. I vividly remember, even though I couldn't officially be on set, right, because I think I was 17 at the time, but I would try to sneak and edge my way, and and just try to see. And I remember Kim seemed very much so, right, from a distance. I think I was like ensconced on a hill behind a bush or something, And then when I was told how Peter was going to be off, I was like, what? Like, how is this gonna? Are you kidding me? Two babies in the nose, and I remember going through the whole process, and then seeing it play out on film really made an impression. So, the creativity and just the impact visually is something that makes this genre stand out.
Okay, one more.
Okay.
Pumpkinhead, because he's in the audience. Brian Brewer's right there. Brian, stand up. Sure.
We got a question over here.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, from when I was really young, there's one scary movie that has stuck in my head, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen this, but it was called Trilogy of Terror.
Yes.
With that little doll.
Yep.
In
Yep.
your hand. Oh my God, with the knife in its teeth and oh my gosh, that's stuck in my head since I was just really, really young. Actually, I like scary movies for the most part.
And two of the best ones are represented next door, right? We got Jaws, and we've got, oh my God, it's just there's so many. How much time do we have? Laura and I, when we were young, we rented all of those on VHS as the grosser the better. And I don't even remember the names, but they just, it's an amazing genre. It's very powerful.
I'm a huge horror fan, so pick a favorite.
Exactly.
I just couldn't do it, but as a kid, a teenager of the 80s, Freddy scared the crap out of me. Nightmare on Elm Street was epic in my brain. And it was just like, what? You can't, what?
Yeah,
you can't go to sleep? That sucks. So that would be mine.
I actually own the Trilogy of Terror dolls from the movie. So it's just kind of funny. I got it a long time ago on eBay. Anyway, I'm actually not a fan of slasher films as a rule, so which is weird.
I gotta go.
that's what. No, I like the psychological horror films. I like the supernatural ones. I mean, The Haunting, the original in 1963, is probably one of my favorites, and also Jaws, which I don't consider a horror movie. I know there's some people disagree with me on that, but Jaws is my favorite movie of all time. Halloween is my favorite slasher film. So, which you don't see a lot of gore. It's all in your head. You fill it in the gaps, which I like that kind of stuff. But The Outsider, I got to tell you, all the ones I've worked on, I think is probably the best. And that one that's on HBO right now. Not that I'm getting anything out of promoting it, but it's a great show.
We got a question here. What's your name?
Jessica. By the way, I love it, and it's thanks to him. It's my younger brother. I actually wanted to know, when it came to the whole cast, who was the best trickster? Because it just seems like such a fun movie. There has to be tricksters.
just such well-behaved young kids.
We didn't have a lot of time. We were making that movie back. The boys. I think it would have been the guys.
Yeah, I don't think I knew many pranksters. But it was a lot of fun though.
Yeah.
We just had a ton of fun. But I'm trying to think of a prankster thing that happened.
It's not really a prankster thing, but I thought it was a nice touch that Michael paid an homage to certain films like Saturday the 14th and the Jason Mask. We didn't have time to prank.
Actually, Brian Patrick Clark was kind of a little bit of had a sense of humor to him.
Yes.
And I don't know if y'all remember, he got into a car accident. Do you remember this? On the way over, the first day we went to shoot, him and Allison Dean, who was picking him up at the airport, they just stopped at McDonald's to get burgers and stuff, and they're like driving in, and somebody hit him like head on, and he ended up breaking his ribs, but he had a mouthful of Big Mac when he got hit, and it went all over the windshield. And he was telling me that people were like walking by looking at him going, and there you can see where he threw up on the windshield. Then he said some guy tried to faith heal him and was putting his hands on his chest, and he said his ribs were broken, and he's dying. He's like, but yeah, he actually, he was pretty funny. We spent some time with him when he was laid up from the accident. So yeah, he was kind of a prankster.
You want to ask a question?
Thanks. Name's Michael. And I've heard that towards the ending of the filming of 3, that right off set was the destruction crew to knock out the camp that was there. I just wondered how true that was. Was there a construction crew off?
It's still there.
Okay. Well, my wife and I actually went and found it because we live just south of Bremen, and we got kicked off in like 5 minutes. Yeah. Just this white truck came out of nowhere and was nose to nose with our car.
Oh my
We were
God.
pulling up the alley. But I was wondering if it was demolished after the filming of 3, because I heard that they were like right there ready to knock it
Well,
down.
we did have to build some things. So they may have been tearing down what we actually built, because there were some things that we couldn't actually demolish that were there already, even though the camp wasn't a camp anymore.
You know, yesterday I signed for somebody that had some photos of the site. And there was only like a partial part of like the mess hall, and then a couple of spots of where we were in the woods.
So right next to our signing table is your table with the heads on it, right? And there was a gentleman at your table saying that you had gone out there.
It's got
and
from Cabby
just
Colors.
cabin was there, but everything else was gone.
Yeah, they had gone through, and there's a documentary they shot behind the scenes stuff of what the camp looked like at that time when they went through, and it was, it's in pretty bad shape, but I mean, it was not in great shape before we started.
I don't know if it's urban legend or what. I don't know if you guys heard this, but the rumor had it someone actually died at that camp. Yeah.
Before you shot?
Before the filming of 2.
Yeah, it was whatever, it was haunted. There was a kid that drowned in the lake supposedly. That sounds like another movie. But yeah, because we did have some weird stuff happen at that camp. I don't know if you all experienced any of that, but there was some activity supposedly. You remember, I can't remember her name, but she was our 3rd AD, and I remember she was out by the flagpole where Kim got dropped, and supposedly she felt somebody grab her ankles, and she said when she turned around there was nobody there, and that was the creepiest story that had happened in there, but that was supposed to be because of her.
It was me. I did. Well, my phobia, I don't like snakes. I grew up in New York. I can look at rats. I can look at lizards, mice. Don't like snakes. One of the scenes before the panty raid, I went to pick up my bag, and there was a snake curled next to the bag. And I wanted to scream, but they were filming, so I just backed up and got one of the crew to go get my bag. And he was like, well, what kind of snake is it? I was like, I don't know. It's just a snake. Please get my bag.
I caught a lizard. Over by the mess hall. I'm an animal lover. So I remember we were all waiting outside. We were outside the mess hall, and there was a little guy that went by. And I was, oh, there's an alligator lizard, something like that, or something like that. A fence lizard, alligator lizard. I don't know, but I went and I caught it. I'm like, oh my God, look how cute he is. And then I went, let him go somewhere else.
Aw. So you let him go?
Yeah.
And you had
table. It was like in a, yes, but it was in a building or something. And there is the biggest effing bowl of M&Ms I've ever seen in my life. And I was so excited. I loved M&Ms. And I would go and like grab like a handful. That's when I could do that. But like this one time I went in there and it was just like totally creepy. Like I was in there by myself and it was dark and I just felt like somebody was watching me and I didn't go get any more M&Ms. Can you believe that? That scared me so bad. I didn't go back.
You either, right?
No. Can't stop myself.
You have a question?
So when the 80s, the huge slasher movie movement of the 80s, did you have any kind of camaraderie or rivalry with other slasher movie casts?
We basically hated everyone in part 2. We've since made amends.
I think one thing is we were so green, at least I was green, so and like with the prankster question, I think we were so green we didn't know that we could be pranking. And also the schedule was tight, so we were focused on like get our job done. But we just had so much freaking fun. It was just like, it wasn't like working, it was like playing.
It was.
Yeah, very cool. I would love to do it again. Let's do another one. How are we gonna do another one when most of us are dead? We're all dead. How do you make that happen? Any ideas?
Basically, do a new
Another reason we moved along so well, if you guys remember, it was shot on film.
Playing for children.
Hardly anyone does that anymore. Actual 35 millimeter.
Right? I'm telling you, they did an amazing job.
Before I get to your question, I do have a quick question. Like, you were all, almost everyone up there was under 18. So a few more of 18.
I was 22.
Who was underage? Anybody?
So 3. But everyone was fairly young. But growing up, did you yourself in reality go to a sleepaway camp? Did you have a camp experience before the movie, or was it something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not like that one.
And the pool was cleaner.
Oh, yeah. Lord of mercy, that was frightening.
We went to Camp Flintlock. You might know Camp Flintlock.
Where's that?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. But it was really fun. It was good. Nothing horrible happened.
I went to a theater
Casual
camp.
bedwetting, I'm sure.
Like, we actually went to a camp, like Sleepaway Camp, and spent a week working, with different aspects of theater and music and stuff like that. So, I mean, I had that experience, but again, not like Sleepaway Camp.
No. I don't remember actually going to camp, but we have a lot of camps up in North Georgia. So we have Camp Barney, Camp Coleman, Woodlands. There's a lot of different camps up in North Georgia. And a lot of people from, I moved to New York and I would tell them where I was from, which is Cleveland, Georgia, and which is near Helen. And people would say, oh my God, near Camp Barney, near Camp Coleman. So Sleepaway Camp was a big deal, but I guess because I lived it, in the woods.
I went to a camp when I was really young, but it was in Canada, in a place called it was like Georgian Bay, so we had to canoe, it was like a 3-day canoe trip. It was all these young kids. We had to drive out to wherever we were going. It was absolutely incredible. One thing that I do remember that was really fun because there were like these kind of little cliffs, like low cliffs and waterfalls and stuff like that. We would put our, what do you call it? Safe jacket?
Life preserver?
The life jackets on, like diapers. And we would run and jump off the thing into the water. And then, it was kind of fun. I don't know, we had the cabin stuff.
How the 80s were the big camp slasher genre. So every generation after that going to camp, it's different than somebody that went to camp in the 70s. They didn't, now it's like, oh, hey, Timmy, you're going to camp. Like, you're going, why are you sending me? Camp's not as fun. It's not meatballs anymore. It's separate balls. This guy's got a question.
Speaking of great horror movies, Marc, you played the coach in Dance of the Dead. So that's one of our favorite zombie movies.
Thank you, guys.
So what was that like? I want your signature, by the way.
Oh, no problem. It was a lot like Sleepaway Camp in that it was a wonderful set to work on. It moved quickly, and the director gave you a lot of freedom with the script and the character. And that's another one. I really enjoyed playing that coach. It was a lot of. Thank you for being a fan. I appreciate it, man.
What's your name?
I actually had a question for Felissa specifically, if that's okay. I was gonna ask, what was it like in the first movie seeing a guy with a mask of your face? Like, was that weird?
It was very surreal, definitely. I mean, I wasn't on set when they had him standing there naked, but I was there when they had me sitting and singing with Paul's severed head in my lap. So I obviously knew what was going on. I had read the script. But when I saw it on the big screen for the first, am I really loud? What the fuck? When I saw it for the first time, I just looked at the screen like, holy shit, that's my dick. Like, it was very weird. I still haven't gotten over it, but it was fantastic. And thanks for all loving my dick. Yes! Here's to my penis. Sorry, guys. The dick thing just keeps coming up.
I wonder if M. Night is a fan of the film because every one of his movies has that strong surprise ending. You know what I mean? I wonder if he ever was inspired by it.
Well, Eli Roth, has made mention that it's like his favorite movie.
Yeah.
And I know Quentin Tarantino has seen it, and Kevin Smith has talked about it. So it's interesting how it's, really kind of made its way around. But it was shocking, and then 2 and 3 came, and they were just marvelous. I mean, that's at a time when we saw so much comedy in our horror, and they just did it brilliantly. So I have a quick question. Did y'all keep in touch with each other? Did you make long-lasting friendships or no? Y'all hate each other?
We hate each other. I haven't seen anybody for over 30 years.
I haven't seen my sister since set.
Yeah, since set. But you said you guys.
Yeah, Kim and I.
Yeah.
We've stayed in touch over the years, see each other on gigs and auditions and stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Same agent for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then we saw each other yesterday for the first time. I saw you today for the first time. I mean, other than,
Right.
He's very muscular, by the way.
And the friendships are coming together.
So seeing you last night. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we were here by ourselves pretty much because I came really late in the evening. And it was just like, we're so excited. It was so much fun. And every time I bump into you, I'm always so happy to see you.
And likewise.
Yeah. Okay, I hate to change the subject, but why were you not in 2 and 3?
So I did meet with Michael Simpson. I was about 16 at the time when I had the same manager that I had when I did the original movie. So Michael Simpson got in touch with that manager, and they said, could Felissa go in and read with him? And I really wanted to go to college, so I had just applied early admission to a college of the only one I wanted to go to. But I went to Manhattan and I sat with Michael in his apartment, and I sucked. I was like the worst funny Angela ever. I was like, okay, I fucking suck. I should not be doing this part. And I said to my manager, this would not be good for me because it's written in such a different way. I'm the quiet, shy Angela, and I really want to go to school. It was Tisch School of the Arts, and study to see if I really could act, because I was just a kid and it was the only movie I had ever made. So I chose to kind of move on, but Michael really loved Pamela. I had heard that he sort of loved Pamela but wanted to meet me, and since I was so shitty, the choice was already Pamela Springsteen. Yeah, the other one sucks. So it all worked out the way it should. So
I
that's
don't
my
believe you
story.
that you were shitty.
I was the shitty. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I'm not even a little bit funny. Like, because I went in thinking that it was going to be the Saint Angela. So my mind was stuck there, and then when I read the lines, I was like, oh, I just froze. And I hung out with him since then because he's in LA and he's lovely, and it's super cool that, you know, we have all of these sleepaway camp movies. I hate when they pin all of us against each other, because to me it's like each movie is its own lovely, beautiful, you know, film, and I love each and every one, and there's no, you know, it's like children. You can't say,
So
that one's better.
Would you do another one?
I would definitely do another one. Yeah. I'd like to play out Martha. Richard, Angela. She's such a fucking weirdo.
Oh my gosh, she's wonderful.
Yeah, she's crazy, right?
Love that performance.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Dave,
I
does
do like
anyone
that-
else have a question?
If that camp is still there and it's dilapidated, it's a great sort of setup for, we're gonna reopen the camp and do something, you know, so. Any more questions? Has anyone got a question? Anyone?
Come on, you know you're dying to ask something. Like, was anybody fooling around with anybody? Well, you go first. We'll get back to the shenanigans.
Thank you guys for coming. It was a long time. Appreciate it. I drove down. I was like, yes, I'm going to make it no matter what. With that being said, would you guys ever come together, maybe make a short film or do something different? Just, you know, you guys are meeting together and say, hey, let's put our ideas together and make something new. It's twisted. Let's show these new school how the old school does it.
Yes.
I think we would. I think we all liked running into each other again, and we liked what we did, and yeah, I think so.
I was thinking about maybe doing where we're like in purgatory, and we think that we like got older and that we're living these lives, but we really aren't because we all died in the camp.
I don't know. I think we have some cameras, and I think I have 60 acres of woods, so we could set it up. You got to come to me though, North Georgia.
And we built, so it's all good.
There we go.
And it's a winery.
And it's a winery.
Now I'm definitely,
We're
what's the
there.
location?
Only an hour from Atlanta.
Woo, I'm there.
Anyone?
So you
Have, oh, I got one over there.
too. Should we talk about the fooling around? Is anybody like looking at us?
Well, I was the underage little girl, remember?
Sir.
Yeah, right?
Hey, I'm Sean, and
Hi, Sean.
We're talking about sex.
That's right.
I live in Westminster. I'm only 2 hours away. So, what advice would you give someone that really wanted to get into a movie now?
A young actor like himself.
I mean, I've actually done 2 movies, so I've done that. But in the Georgia area,
Yeah.
who would you need to contact and?
Well, Shay actually is still around. She's a casting director, and then there's a lot of other ones. But, you know, that might be kind of fun to say how much you've loved the movies that she's casted in the past. Atlanta is just exponentially boomed. So, I mean, you can get on as an extra on pretty much anything. I think a lot of the Avenger movies were shot here on stages, and I got tickled because I moved home in 1998, and I had worked on some other films with, you know, different crew people. And I look up one day and I see the production manager that I worked with for years was now the executive producer of the Avengers. And I'm like, oh man, I should have stayed. But yeah, I mean, you know, just check into those things. There's, I think, on the news and yeah, and then of course the film office. They have online. They have a list of different things you can do and go and check out.
And then don't give up, just keep doing it, right? I mean, that's what we were talking about, why we never, did it, I never grew thick enough skin. The auditioning process just like sent me into apoplexy, so. Right, so don't give up, yeah.
I have that. Mine was, have the attention of a flea. So, and when you said you've been on some films. Some of you guys, have any of you played extras and stuff on films? Yeah. I mean, you sit around and wait for like hours and hours, and so you got to have some tenacity for that.
So true. So yeah, starting off as an extra is great because it shows you what it's like on the set, but then there's a lot of wonderful local agents and you can submit online. And I would recommend doing classes, getting your headshots, and working on your resume, building it, and submit to the local agencies because you never know, right? I say go for it. And then if you're not booking something, create something. Like make an independent film with your phone. I mean, and put it on YouTube. Just like you just have to go with like what she was saying, tenacity. You just have to chase it and chase it. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in Atlanta.
And you're asking for yourself, I assume, sir, right? You have a great character. I think you would do it very, very well. And as Kim said, I can't overstate training. Just take classes and classes. Always be working on your craft.
Can I speak to one thing on the classes? Because I know here in Atlanta, I've done some work here in Atlanta, and the local casting directors, they're pretty much all, because it's a good money bit for them, but they offer acting classes, but acting for auditioning classes. But it's a great way to get in front of their faces through their classes, then they know who you are, and then when your picture comes up, they're like, oh, so just look on IMDb for the stuff that's shot around here, and then you can see the local casting.
Also, yeah, I don't know about that, but Mandy.com, if you go to Mandy.com, you can sign up and put in your location and tailor it to your location if you want. But that's a great place to find out about low, no, and what's happening.
Yeah, a lot of the films and television shot around here really want to tap into the local casting because it saves them a lot of money. So
Also,
add,
sorry, go ahead.
Go.
Oh, I was gonna just add to that. You want to try to build your resume while you're in craft classes and stuff. So if you know somebody who's making their own movie or any independent films going on, just jump on that if you can. You're not gonna get paid, but you can put that on your resume, and it counts.
And nowadays, oh, that sounds horrible, doesn't it? 30 years later, there's a lot of schools, high schools, and they have full broadcasting. They have better stuff than I definitely had in film school. And so they're doing their short films, and they're looking for all kinds of people, and it could be very local to you. We're up in, like I said, in Helen, Georgia. It's very rural, but we have one of the best broadcasting departments in the area.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that we do, we have to, of course, we deal with all across the board, actor-wise, because of the effects stuff, and I find that, I hate to say it, but a lot of times as locals, I don't know if you necessarily get as of a fair of a chance as you would if you were from like LA or New York or something like that. Because I know a lot of even the live casting stuff that we still get is people from out of state that comes in, or stunt people. But if you have an unusual look, that does work in your advantage. And I know that a lot of people will get jobs as extras, and there are lots of local agencies and things here, and occasionally we'll have some come through. But I mean, unfortunately, I think there's still a little bit of, I don't want to say prejudice against, people from here, but I mean, it was the same for us as effects makeup artists. We had trouble getting work on bigger shows because they didn't think that they could get good talent down here. The truth is, there is good talent in Georgia, and it's just a matter of it'll eventually start opening up more and more. But for now, I think it's probably still kind of hard to get good stuff to those who are still pursuing.
And to that point, I remember 30 years ago, certain actors would have an LA phone number, and that was the only thing Los Angeles about was a phone number because of the stigma that was attached to that. Oh, you're from LA. You have to be better than the actors here.
Or New York.
Or New York, yep. But they just had the phone number. It worked for some people. I was still 404.
I got to tell y'all, this is so funny. I worked on a project one time. It was right before Atlanta started like exploding with the industry, and we'd worked here for a long time. And I was on a production, and after we were done, we were wrapping. This girl, she goes, "I have to tell y'all, like, and no, she didn't say y'all. I had to tell you guys, we really were upset coming over here to Georgia because we thought it was going to be horrible and like really bad, but it wasn't so bad. It was really good. You know, you guys were really professional. So thank you. We were literally crying on the plane. We were like so, and I felt like going, oh, well, I gotta go, you know, fuck my cousin, so I gotta go. But I felt like so insulted. I just bite my tongue, smiling, you know. Oh.
I had not quite that experience, but at the same time, in the green room, we were asking, you know, who are you? Where are you from? And we got to the one girl who was the star. What's your name? Oh, I'm from LA. It's an interesting name. That was it. That's all she gave us.
I'm sorry.
You got a question?
Yes. My name's Jennifer. I'm a huge fan of all of it. What was it like? Because these movies, they showed a lot more nudity than a lot of the. So what was it like when your parents found out that the movies was going to be like this, and then if your friends watched it and you was like, oh my gosh.
Well, the first barrier for me was when I got cast as Brooke. My parents saw the script and they said, no. You're not making out with a boy on film. You're not doing this. No. Luckily, they recast me as my sister, or as me. What is that? So that would be my answer to that. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Yeah, for me, and I was older, I was of age, but the agent that I had made sure that I wasn't going to end up in one of those roles, because at the time he didn't want that to, I guess, stigmatize me. You know, back then it was different then than it is now.
I wasn't asked to do nudity for some reason. You guys may remember I don't know her name, the girl that Michael J. Pollard and was hitting on the whole time. Stacy, yes. Stacy just had her breasts done, and she was quite proud of them. And you remember the death scene?
No, she does not have the boob job.
That's what?
That's what you call young boobs.
Oh, you just dispelled that rumor then. Like, okay,
I'm
they were
willing
real.
to check. I'm willing to
They
check.
were real. But during her death scene, now you may remember this, when she was killed. She's killed. She's still holding on to her chest as she comes up.
Yeah. The scene just played behind you a little bit. So I wasn't paying attention.
There's still time for nudity if you want to shoot me. It's your opportunity.
Okay, I can tell you definitely, and I was born and raised in a small town, small southern town, and moved back home to start a family. So I'm helping out with a community theater. Yeah. And I'm really terrified of scary movies. I've worked on, was in one and worked on 3, and I was terrified the whole time. My imagination goes crazy. But I do love Army of Darkness. That is, so I didn't really understand this, but I can totally understand because we really do. We watch it over and over and over. I had it on VHS. I had to find it on DVD. I understand now, but I hadn't even thought of Sleepaway Camp in years. And I walk outside, and there's a brother and sister, and their hobby was watching horror movies. And they're about, I don't know, 17, 16, whatever, 39. And I'm about to die because they start singing the Happy Camper song. The naughty version. Our version. And I have kids in middle school. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And I said, oh, look, that's great, I'm so glad, that's so nice, but please, can you just wait a couple of years till they get out of high school? So yeah, it was tough.
One more question. This is You right there, right there. Okay.
Hi, my name's Bert. So I kind of heard kind of a rite of passage of being an actor around Atlanta, especially in the 80s, was doing either Dukes of Hazzard or In the Heat of the Night. Did any of y'all have the pleasure of doing that?
A Heat of the Night, which I thought was interesting, and it really was before the boom, because I was on there more than once, and they still hired me. I'm like, that's okay, I'm not gonna get recognized. They're like, no, it's fine, it's fine. But it was, I really enjoyed, I will say, I really enjoyed meeting Carol O'Connor. Just a classy guy from start to finish, and just so gracious and so caring, and just not the typical, I guess, jaded personality, even after being in the showbiz all his life. And his eyes were the bluest, piercing, bluest eyes I've ever seen. I couldn't stop staring at them. So. And yes, Heat of the Night was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I auditioned for it a couple times, I think.
I did a spot on the Heat of the Night, and the same impression from Carol O'Connor. Just an amazing actor, an incredibly generous person. He's a young actor, and I was in the scene with another up-and-coming, actor, and he kept us around the set like all day. It's like, oh, we're done. It's like, no, let those two stay, And after each scene, he would come over and like give lessons, right? And he was amazing. Also spent time with Howard Rollins, another incredible actor who unfortunately, died too soon. But yeah, that was an amazing experience.
I booked it, but had a conflict for a training video, so I was. But it could have been a life-changing experience because I remember my line as the gym owner saying, "Bubba, the phone's for you."
I auditioned for it, and I had kick-ass first audition, and then on the when we went on the set to do the callback, I was like a deer in headlights. But I totally didn't book it. I got so like, and I just flew horribly. But I feel a little guilty for making fun of people from LA, especially since this doll right here. It was only that one chick on that production. This one is a jewel. She is just love and light. In fact, everybody I've met here has just been a joy and a pleasure to be around. And that set was just, it was so much freaking fun. And I really want to find a way to do it again. And
Yes.
I don't know how to do it, but.
Well, there's cell phones. You can get everyone's number. You don't have to wait 30 years, right? So let's give it up for the past. Yeah. Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. Thank you so much. Answering questions, giving such insight, and enjoying so much. Yeah. Look, I'm going to take one for the
Click like, subscribe, or even comment below because I want to hear what you think.
No fair.